All right, so Greg and Bernie and I are just on a call here. It's January 31st, 2021, and we're going to talk about animating a property at, I think it's 112 St. Joseph's Drive in Hamilton. Did I get the address right?
It says 125 on here.
I thought it was 112. Well, we better have the right building. Is this the right building?
I'll have to check with Greg when he comes back.
Where did he go?
Just dashed in for a bio break.
Oh, okay. I think it is 112, but we'll wait for him to come back. He didn't started. I'm going to pause the recording while we wait for him.
Yeah.
So now that Greg has rejoined the meeting, I started recording again. I better check that I'm actually doing that. Yeah. Greg, this is the right building here. It's 112 St. Joseph's Drive in Hamilton, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
All right. And this is a building that you and Bernie are thinking about doing some RRSP, second mortgage financing for, correct?
Right.
All right. So at some point, you might do for Conrad, and you should ask him for $1,500 plus. You live in Alberta, so plus GST for it. Don't do it for free.
No.
You know, you're doing the ninja course. I'll help you with it. You know, but ask him for $1,500 plus GST, and you'll do a full PAAN report for him.
Right.
That's what I charge my clients to do it, and in some cases when they're a little bit more complicated, I charge up to $3,500, but typically it's only $1,500. In Ontario, I have to charge HST, which is 13%, but in Alberta, you know, it's just 5% of GST. What is it in, I've asked you this before, what is it in Saskatchewan?
It's 11.
It's 11%. So depending where you live, you know, it depends. But you might actually, you know, I don't really know. You have to charge either plus GST, plus HST, whatever. You'll have to figure it out. You know, I charge 13% because that's what I live in Ontario. So a couple of things that I really like about this building, and there's some really simple things that you can do that will raise the value and don't cost a lot. So the number one thing is name the building.
Right.
Right. So you would end up with a, you know, up here, Greg, where can you see my cursor moving around?
Yeah.
You'd put some really nice, you know, sort of round thing, you know, and it's called Hamilton House or something like that. You know, I've named a lot of buildings, you know, the Palladium, where the Ottawa Senators play, is now called Canadian Tire Center. I built a retirement residence. It was on Robertson Road, so I called it Robertson House. I really believe in naming buildings, and apartment buildings should have names too. There was one that I think my mother stayed in. It was called Juliana Hall. It was a beautiful building back in its day, called Juliana Hall, and it was named after Queen Juliana, who was Queen of the Netherlands, who took refuge in Canada during World War II. So the developer of it was wondering what he should call his new building, and I said, "Didn't Queen Juliana stay here?" You know, and he said, yeah, during World War II. That's how long ago it was built. You know, because she was sheltering from the Nazis and didn't want to be caught by the Germans who invaded Holland and put Holland through just hell. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So anyway, so I said, why don't you call it, you know, Juliana House? And he came up with a better name, Juliana Hall.
Right.
And it, you know, I'm pretty sure it's still called that. So you don't live at, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 Acme Street. You live in Juliana Hall, and it has a great history and tradition. So a building like this, you would look at its history, who owned it. Were there any famous people who stayed here? Were there any people who did good works here? You know, did Mother Teresa stay here? You know, you look at that. So naming it would be one thing. The next thing that I really like is it's quite possible that, do you see these low windows here, Greg?
Yeah.
As you know, every time I do this, if I could replace those windows with doors and to give an apartment its own ingress and egress to the outside, you will find right away your rents go up. Do you understand that, Greg?
Yes.
So let's say you and Bernie were young again, and you had one little kid, and you know, or myself and Don were young again, we have one kid. And where would you rather stay, on the 32nd floor of a high-rise apartment building with your kid, or on the ground floor apartment here at 112 St. Joseph Boulevard, where this is the front door of the apartment over here,
Mhm.
where your kid can run in and out, you know, his friends or her friends can just knock on the door, come in and out, instead of having to go through a common entrance. All right. Or if you're walking your dog, same thing, right? So every time I open up a building, you know, and even some of these second floor apartments in some of the other places, we do open up an entrance at grade, where we have a door and then we have stairs going up there. So again, even a second floor apartment could have its own entrance at grade. I'm not suggesting that here. That's a little bit too far. But some of these apartments over here could in fact have their own ingress and egress, and that will provide additional value in two ways. One, you'll get higher rent, and two, tenants will stay longer. All right, and one of the keys to profitability in this industry is when tenants stay for 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years, 6 or 7 years, instead of having to turn them over every year. Like we manage about 352 apartments, and if we had to do new leases every year, that's 352 tenants we have to interview, usually more than one at a time. We have to vet them, we have to make ready, you know, we have to repaint, clean up the unit. Maybe it's vacant for 2 weeks while we do that, possibly a month. So the churn rate, the rate at which your tenants turn over, is a really, really important factor in profitability. So if they have their own ingress and egress, it's likely that they're going to end up you're going to end up with tenants that stay longer. And you know, I mean, if this were my building, I might even cut a door here, and a door, if this is another apartment, I don't know if it is, then a door here. And again, you have 2 more apartments with their own ingress and egress.
Right.
The other thing that we do is, where we do cut doors and we give ingress and egress, we also create little private patios. And again, you know, these are tiny patios, but these tiny patios, you might be able to put a barbecue out there, a bench out there, picnic table out there. And Greg, something that I have found out, not just me, but a lot of my clients have found out, is that if you have a common patio, it hardly ever gets used. Yeah, you know, people just want their own little space. So if you had a little bit of a fence around this space and a little bit of a fence around that space, you know, you could, if you have a kid, you'd have the trike there, you'd have the bike there, you'd have the barbecue there. It's your own little space. It will get used a lot. If you had a common area here where everybody can share it, nobody will use it. It'll add virtually no value. All right, so that's another thing that I would look at. I'm going to tell you something else that you're going to think I'm crazy, but you probably already do. Let's see if I can find it. I wanted to show you a little video that I did. Oh my gosh, can I find it? I think I can. I'll show you another little animation. Here it is. So I've been experimenting with some really, really, really simple animations. Like, again, you might think it's a bit strange, but I'll show it to you anyway.
One of those tabletop ping pong
Yeah,
games?
it's this thing here. So, so did you see it?
I saw the picture that you sent out, and I was telling the girls, because Bernie always wants to play board games with the family over Christmas.
So I wanted, Bernie, can you see it okay?
She just stepped into the washroom. But
Oh my God, I'm losing my audience every 5 minutes.
I was telling Bernie that we should get this for the family for next Christmas.
Well, I'll show it to you in a second. But it is an animation. Anything that you know, I have this concept in my mind that families that play together stay together.
Yeah.
You know, couples that play together stay together. I mean, you know, life is pretty tough. Uh, you know, life is not easy. You know, it's a financial challenge. Every day is another challenge. So you know, is Bernie there?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So Bernie, I have this concept I wanted to show you, that families that play together stay together, and that we should try and introduce even into our rental portfolio some things. So I experimented over Christmas with this ping pong table, which is teensy. Can you see it here on the screen?
Mhm.
And you can see how low it is. So little kids can play it, adults like myself. So this was me and my youngest son, Matthew, playing over Christmas with our new mini ping pong table, which cost me $250 less. I got a credit, some kind of, you know, special deal. It was $224. Are we recording?
I believe so, yeah, for 2 seconds. So you won't be able to see me much, but
No, it's okay. So everybody, this is Matt and Bruce were playing mini ping pong. It's like a teensy little table, could fit in any apartment, microsuite, any house. And when I bought it, it was on the principle that families that play together stay together. Okay, Matt, serve it up, buddy. Whoa. So, and believe it or not, you can actually play. Oh, I'm not doing much here. Try it. Ready? Around. Oh, boy. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see, you can actually play. It's a little lower. Matt says it's lower because you can hit down and you'll get a little better, you know, result from it. But it's also lower so kids can play. Now you can turn it off. So I know it's kind of strange, but what I'm doing now, I'll stop sharing here. What I'm doing now is I am equipping our apartments with these things.
Right.
And Barry, they fold up like this, and it's got a handle, so it's very portable. You can take it outside, you can bring it back inside, and it's so small it will fit into a microsuite. And we had one of our microsuites come up for rent in actually this month, and we put one of these things in there. And the young woman who rented it, I showed it to her. We had the masks on and everything else. I just wanted to see how she would react. And we have the tech packages. That's another animation, obviously, for your property at 112 St. Joseph's Drive, the tech multimedia package. So we had in this little microsuite, we have the full screen TV. We have this really great Sonos speakers. We have the little Alexa robot, if you know what that is. You know, little Alexa, you know, you can ask her what the temperature is and she'll answer. We have Amazon Music that's available through Alexa. It comes out of the Sonos speakers. You can just say, hey, play the Beatles if you like the Beatles, or, you know, play REM, whatever you like. And Alexa will play it. We have keypad locks, which are great, so you can change them just from your cell phone. We have Nest temperature stats, T-stats, which again you can control from your smartphone. So if it's too hot or too cold, you can change that. What else do we have? We obviously have great internet and Wi-Fi. We give our tenants Netflix and Prime, because Prime has a lot of good series on it. So you know, it's been, and we really do a good job with our internet. Like we have, we use Google. Wi-Fi, which is really good. So we don't have, you don't have to run around the house trying to find a place where the signal is good. It's good in the bathroom. It's good everywhere, right? Right. Anyway, she came in, and it is literally a microsuite. And she came in, and she said, "What's this?" And you know, it had the rackets there and the ball there. I didn't say anything, and I said, "Well, can you play ping pong?" And she said, "Well, yeah." So we actually played a little bit, and she rented the place. All right. So that is an animation of sorts. All right. So let's go back to there. So there's some things that you can do. So. The other thing that we've talked about, you and I, a lot is about at some point here, at somewhere here, if you can, you'd add a bit of a playland. see if I've got that. You know, a playland could be something like this. Very simple, could be a bocce court, could be an outdoor ping pong table, could be an outdoor mini ping pong table, which at $224 is hilarious and fun. It could be something like you're seeing here, which is, you know, the beanbag toss game. The official name is cornhole. It doesn't really matter. But if you have, you know, something outside that people can do and play, again, these kind of elements are very inexpensive, and tenants really like it.
Right.
And if they stay longer, even better for the building. All right. So what are some of the other animations that I thought would make sense here? Yeah, if we just go to the other view here, maybe we could go over here. I don't know if we can. Maybe I can turn it around. Hang on. Yeah, I think I can. So you guys know that the back of this building has these really interesting garages. Do you see them here?
Yeah.
And at least some of those, I think, should be workshops.
I believe Conrad's plan is to turn them into additional apartments to rent.
Well, that might be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the strength of the workshop model is just mind-blowing to me. And the number of people today who want to live and work in the same place is unbelievable. It's not just the work from home. If you're working for Shopify or you're working for you know, Apple or Facebook or one of these big tech companies, you can work from home, do coding at home, no problem at all. But the number of people, as we've talked about endlessly, Greg, you and I, and more recently with Bernie, the number of people who want a workshop is just, it is mind-blowing. And just before we started the call today, I was listening to a report on television about this Kitchener painter who helps keep pets as part of a family even after they pass away. She does pet portraits. Who knew? And I booted this up because when I was looking at this space here, imagine if this young woman had an apartment here and she had her portrait studio here.
Right. So
Once you give somebody a workshop or a studio in the same place that she lives, so this apartment up here is a liability, this workshop is an asset. Right? This is the fish, this is the fishing rod, right? I don't need to tell you any more about it. So yes, that might be an excellent use, is to create more microsuites down here. There's nothing wrong with that, Greg, but some of them might well be better suited to being workshops. You might get the same or similar rents, and you will keep people in your building longer.
that's what I was thinking. You might get the same rent for less renovation fee.
Yeah, much less renovation or similar rent, maybe a little bit lower, but similar. And the other thing that you can do, as you remember with workshops and studios, is it's more of a commercial lease than it is a residential lease. And if it's a commercial lease, guess what? There's no Residential Tenancy Act. So if they don't pay their rent, guess what happens to them?
No, right away. No problem.
They're done, right? You understand that, Bernie? And I have a legal opinion from one of my real estate lawyers that, let's say this young woman that I mentioned was living in an apartment here, and this was her studio down here. You can actually write the lease up as primarily commercial with an accessory residential. And my lawyer has told me if you do a commercial lease with accessory residential and she doesn't pay her rent, she has no RTA, Residential Tenancy Act protection.
Right.
That is huge. The other thing that comes with a commercial lease is that you could ask for, I'm not sure you'd get it, but you could ask for a percentage rent. Do you remember what a percentage rent is, Greg?
Yep.
So that, you know, if she's doing $500,000 a year in portraits and you're getting a 4% percentage rent, you get $20,000 extra money in your jeans.
Right.
You're not going to get that from a residential lease, but you can from a commercial lease. Maybe one of these is turned into a small bakery.
Right.
Again, you get a percentage rent. At least you ask for it and you try and get it. And that can make a huge difference to your profitability.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, as you know, GST and HST do not apply to residential rents. You know that, right?
Okay.
All right, Bernie, did you know that?
No.
So let's say you rented me an apartment here for $1,000 a month. It's just $1,000 a month. I don't have to pay HST or GST on that. Okay, residential rents are exempt. Commercial rents are not. So if you rented this young woman a studio space for, say, $1,000 a month in Ontario, she'd have to pay the $1,000 a month plus 13%. So you would get $1,130, not $1,000. Now you're going to say, well, what's the difference? You get $130 worth of HST. You just have to turn around and give that to the government of Canada. No. You know what input tax credits are, right, Greg?
Yep.
So if you own a residential building, every dollar of HST that you spent, so Bernie, let's say you hire a plumber to come to this building and he gives you $1,000 bill for, you know, some major problem that he had to fix. He's going to charge you $1,000 plus $130 of HST. You with me on that? Because he has to. It's a service and he has to charge you $130. But you rented that studio apartment to this young woman for $1,000 plus HST, $130. So you collected $130 and you paid $130 of HST. You don't have to give the government of Canada anything. So HST on a commercial building is actually a profit center. It's a very good tax if you're a commercial building owner. So now you can track all of your HST that you're paying, and it becomes an input tax credit, and therefore HST becomes your friend. It's not your friend if you're just buying something at the store. You go to the store, you go to a restaurant, you buy a nice meal for $100, you pay $13 of HST. That's a cost. You're never getting that money back. That's not an input tax credit. However, if I took you out for lunch, Greg, and I spent $100 plus HST, that $13 that I pay because you're a client of mine is now an input tax credit.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. I've killed it. There's some
issues with zoning to add like commercial stuff in the back there?
Bernie, can you get a little closer to the mic?
Sorry. Are there any issues with zoning to add commercial stuff in a residential building?
Right, there is. So let's say you had a little workshop here, okay, or a studio. You are not allowed under most zoning rules in Canada and the United States to rent that to somebody who doesn't live in this building.
Okay.
Okay, so most zoning rules, like let's say I had a workshop in my backyard, and my youngest son, who's in our studio apartment downstairs, who doesn't pay any rent, by the way, wanted to rent it. That's perfectly fine. But if one of my neighbors 3 doors over wanted to rent it, at least in theory, I'm not supposed to rent it to him or her. All right. The same thing is true of storage. So the other animation that I thought of is that you could put some, some of those really nice little sheds that I like so much, divided into 2 compartments and start renting storage. You rent storage to your tenants. But the fact is that somebody living in this building is looking out here, and he or she sees that you've got a little workshop here and some storage here. And they will come across and they will ask you, can we rent, I've got a little business, maybe a little tech business. Can I rent the studio and run my tech business here? And can I use this to store some parts? What are you going to say to that, Greg?
I don't know. I'd like to say yes somehow.
Yeah, so I can tell you what most of my clients do. They say yes.
Okay.
I mean, the bylaw says you can't do it, Bernie, but I have one client who has, I think, 70 properties in Ottawa, and he has, I think, 140 of these storage, lockers on his properties. He never asks where people live. Well, he asks where they live because he has to know that, but he doesn't care if they live on his property or they live 2 blocks away. He doesn't. He'll just rent them to whoever comes up. And the only time you get into trouble is if somebody complains.
Right.
And then you have to say, oops, sorry. So I can't coach you on that, Bernie. I cannot suggest that you do that. In most cases, it would be better if this nice young woman who does the animal portraits lived here and rented that. And then she needed some storage, she rented that. That's then you're dancing on the side of the angels.
Right.
Okay? But having said that, and like I said, you know, to me, does it really matter? Does it really hurt anybody if somebody in this apartment rented that studio or somebody in this apartment rented that studio?
Right.
Bernie, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I don't think it would matter that much.
I don't think so either. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, what the heck could you do with this humongous roof up here?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
Maybe we spent too much time watching shows while people moving to Mexico, but man, that would be a nice place to put some terrace.
What would it, sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you, Greg. Apologize.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time in the weekend mornings watching shows about people moving to Caribbean and Mexico and stuff. I look at a flat roof like that, and I think that'd be a perfect place to have a rooftop patio sometime.
I don't disagree at all. And in fact, when I was thinking of playland, you know, imagine a rooftop patio up here where you could sit and, you know, have a coffee, have a cup of tea, have a meeting.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we are ever allowed to get back together again, you know, I could have you know, if I lived there, I could have you know, we could do coaching up there, right? You know, and beautiful summer day, you know, I mean, in Saskatchewan, they get at least 3 days in summer. And I mean, they actually have beautiful summers in Saskatchewan, I know that. But this would be a fantastic place to have a bocce court.
Yeah.
You know, to have, you know, an outdoor meeting a place. So to me, it's more than a playland. A roof like that is an opportunity to also use it for like business purposes, work from home purposes. So if you know, a lot of the people who live in this building will be working from home, and if they had a place up here where they could, you know, they could go and have a meeting, they would use it for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or if you just get sick and tired of you know, being indoors all the time and on Zoom all the time, you can go up here with your laptop and work for a couple of hours and get some fresh air. You're not always cooped up. So I think you should do something with that as well.
Even with pandemic stuff, and you know, give people a chance to be able to meet outside if they're allowed to meet outside, but not inside.
And something you already know is that if you're going to do anything with a rooftop or anything outside, you do need to have oh, I'm going to forget what it's called, but it's like a lattice that goes over it so you get some shade.
Yeah.
It's not actually a lattice. What is it called?
Pergola?
A pergola, thank you. You do need to give some thought to that. If you have a pergola, you know, with some vertical boards this way and this way like that, you get some, you still get all the air, you get all the sun that you want, but you don't get the sun beating down on your head, right? For people like me who have no hair, you know, it's an issue. And also, I don't think people should be in the full sun. You know, I mean, it's okay, you know, for 15 minutes, but, you know, probably not the best idea to spend, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 hours working out there with the sun beating on you. So you do need that. So I thought you could do something with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you could think of, Greg? Bernie?
Well, you could offer garden space up there for people who want to, you know, grow their own tomatoes or lettuce or whatever.
Yeah, that's a real, yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, let's say you put some garden beds up there too. That's a really, really good idea. Oh, I'm all over that. Okay, so I think we've kind of killed that one for now. Okay, so I looked at your agenda. Let's talk about got storage next. Is that okay, Greg?
Sure.
Okay, where do you want to go with that? Oh no, before we do that, tell me about Quick Store. You've got 2 or 3 people who are interested in buying the business?
Yeah, well, they're interested in getting more information, so I put together some information for them, and I actually had another person email me this week, even though I haven't, the ad is still up on Kijiji, but it's, you know, of course, dropping down in the rankings, but So yeah, so I've got some people that are interested in looking at it.
Did you break it up the way we talked about?
Yes, yeah, I did.
That probably helps a little bit too, to lower the price point.
It does. What I found interesting is two of the most interested people aren't here. One guy's up in northern Alberta.
Oh,
So he was saying, well, I guess I really probably can't serve this from here. And I said, no, but I mean, I could set you up there with your own business that replicates it. And then another guy from Montreal
wow.
who was looking at things, and I basically told him, and I said, well, I can, you know, if you want the price, I'll get you a house to live in as well.
That is cool, Greg. So you also said in your agenda that you were asking the question whether you could run the rental business in Lloyd from Saskatoon. I don't know, can you?
Well, John and I are in discussions about that because John doesn't want to give up all of my rental income. So I think we can probably certainly offer some of it here. What we're looking at doing now is we're looking at offering containers that are set up and just stay set up. And we'll get a rollback trailer and they'll just roll them up and off and on the trailer. And I'll have the guy who's working for me now will go out and do the deliveries for it.
So you don't necessarily have to sell it. If you move to Saskatoon, you think you can operate the business even if you're not in Lloyd.
I can certainly operate part of it for sure.
Yeah. All
We
right.
don't have to, that was just a backup plan. If it doesn't sell,
It is yeah. To me, it sounds like a backup plan. I still think the best plan is to try and in 2 or 3 pieces, maybe put a few $100,000 and sell it and put entrepreneurs in charge. I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Because you know, when an entrepreneur is running a business, he or she is boots and all. They'll find ways to make it grow, which would be very difficult for you to do when you're in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else on a quick story that you want to talk about?
No, I think you know, the next thing will be to see where some of these conversations go.
Yeah, yeah, okay. But, you know, see if you could precipitate it. And I've asked you this before, would you provide some financing to somebody who wanted to buy the business?
Yes, yeah.
I think you said you would. How much would you provide? 50% loan to value, seller financing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you go any higher than that?
I could. I could also finance the containers through a leasing company.
Yeah, I really like that. Through National Leasing, you said.
Yeah. National will provide up to a 5-year lease on them. So, I mean, the container value could be leased out and I could provide financing in some of the remaining.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, you know, because if you can lower the entry price, you can expand the audience, right?
Yeah.
The audience of buyers. All right. Well, one thing you should do, though, if you're getting some leads from Kijiji, you should, you know, go back in and push the, you know, did you pay for your ad or is it a free ad?
I paid for them when I first posted them. I paid for the top ad for a week.
Yeah. I do that too. I put it in at the top, and then eventually, after a month or whatever, it drops down, and then I just reboot it. I'm not sure you're going to get anywhere with Facebook Marketplace. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but my Facebook ads have been pathetic.
Okay.
I mean, I just haven't been able to master Facebook Marketplace at all. I've done quite a bit of Kijiji advertising, which has been very successful for me in a lot of ways, but the Facebook advertising has not been.
I just know a lot of people here talk about it. So I haven't used it to try and sell anything. I've used it in the sense of looking for things to buy. Yeah. But
well,
I have really limited experience.
If you're getting enough leads from Kijiji, just stick with it. Just keep, you know, booting it to the top.
Yeah. Something else that would probably make more sense would be looking at advertising in Gil's newsletter.
Yeah, I saw that, the Affordable Business Partner newsletter. Yeah. I'm all for that sort of targeted advertising. To me, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. And if I could tell you that I was successful with Facebook advertising, like I tried it for some coaching, you know, like I like doing coaching, but I didn't get anywhere with that. So but that's just me. Maybe there's other people who are better at it. Then you asked me about the real estate cycle in Saskatoon, and you said in your agenda that Alberta and Saskatchewan are sort of in a slump, which is not news. What is your concern there, Greg?
It's not really a concern so much as I have been doing some side learning, you know, watching some videos and,
Yep.
you know, some reading and stuff. And of course, Ken McElroy is talking about the Federal Reserve is aiming at 2% inflation in the coming years. I don't know what the effect will be on Canada, but I suspect it'll be at least the same, if not a little bit higher inflation. We tend to lag them a little bit and then just kind of drag it on a little further. I've been doing some reading with some of the articles from RAIN, and RAIN talks about how Alberta and Saskatchewan are in early to mid slump. So they then identify fix and flips are not a good thing to go into right now in those markets, but buy and holds can be good.
Yeah, you know, as you know, I am not a believer in flips.
Right.
I think, you know, everybody I know who flips houses flip until they flop,
right.
And everybody in that business flops.
Yeah.
You know, so I would not recommend you doing that.
No, and we have no interest in that.
No, and I'm not even sure you should, if Conrad asks you to fund some of the fix and flips, I'm not sure you should do that.
Yeah.
Because
he had to mention that, and I wasn't, when he was talking about it with you, I was thinking, I'm not really interested in that. There's other places to put them.
Yeah. See, what Conrad doesn't know is I teach something quite different. I teach something called the makeover model, not Main Street makeovers, but the makeover model applied to housing. So I do have people who do fix and flips, but number one, they are insiders. So they're contractors. They have the skills to actually go and hammer and saw and do most of the work themselves. So that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, they're not doing the pig on a lipstick. No, the lipstick on a pig thing.
Right.
Okay. So most flips, as you know, they go in and they paint it and then they tidy up the yard and they put the house up for sale for $80,000 more than they bought it for. You and Bernie and Don and I walk into the house. We know from a mile away it's a flip, right? Because they all look the same. They all have, you know, they have a little bit of lip gloss and lipstick on the pig, but still a pig. Yeah. And those guys work really hard and they make $15,000 when you total all of their costs, interest costs, transaction costs, renovation costs, holding costs, their own time. They make almost no money. It's really, really labor intensive and they make very little money. And most people who are in flips, after they try a few and they flopped at least once, then they start coaching. They make more money from coaching people how to flip houses than they ever did flipping houses. And then those people do the same thing. So pretty soon we're going to have in North America, we're going to have 380 million people all teaching each other how to flip houses.
Right.
It's absolute BS. However, what I teach contractors to do is to do a makeover. So what they're doing is they're doing an animation.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, they'll take a house and they'll develop a microsuite in that house. And so whoever buys it has a little bit of income, or they'll put a basement apartment in, a side yard apartment, a workshop in the back. They'll do all the animation stuff that we've talked about. Not all of it. They'll do one, you know. And you know, I have one young fellow. He's 32. He's a carpenter, licensed carpenter. He does makeovers, and he makes about $60,000 a door, and he'll do 4 or 5 a year. Okay, so he can make $200,000 or $300,000 a year for himself and his family. Doing it, he loves doing it. He's good at it. But every single one of his flips is a makeover with some additional income potential from it. That's the sine qua non. That's the thing that overarching that you need to do. So if I were to introduce anybody who's doing fix and flips to Conrad who needs financing, they will all be doing the makeover model. None of them will be doing the lipstick on the pig thing.
Right.
All right. Okay. So next on the agenda, hang on, I got it here somewhere. wanted to show you something else. What was it? There's something that I forgot to mention as a potential animation for your building at this one here is if you have any 2-bedroom apartments in there, you might see if you can do some augmented tenancies in the building. You with me on that? And I just want to show you what I was looking at when I was talking to you, and I wasn't sharing my screen with you. So you remember this lock-off suite, Greg?
Yeah.
Remember this one? So Bernie, what this, it's very small on your screen. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. If you have any 2-bedroom apartments in 112 St. Joseph's Drive in Hamilton, you might be able to create this condition here where you have one of them is turned into a microsuite. One of the bedrooms is turned into a microsuite. Bernie, have you ever seen this picture before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you have an extra door to the corridor here. This little area here in blue is a fully self-contained microsuite. It does have a connecting door to the main apartment. Here's the main apartment with its own entrance to the hall. And this gives you all of the augmented tenancy opportunities. So this could be used for a registered massage therapy practice, a physiotherapy practice, a coaching practice. I could take it, if I was living here, I could take in an elder if I had my PSW and take care of her, right? So there is always a possibility that some of these units might be suited to that. They might be. And if you recall, UBC, the University of British Columbia, did microsuites as small as 145 square feet, fully self-contained. Okay, so when people say, "Oh, the bedroom's not big enough," if it's 145 square feet, it is big enough.
Right.
All right, that's only 10 by 14.
Yeah.
All right, or 14 and a half. All right, that was an animation I forgot to mention. Okay, then I had some other stuff here. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the slump in Alberta and Saskatchewan and why I don't think it's going to impact on GOT storage.
Okay.
GOT storage, if I understand the model correctly, is about obviously storage. It's about workshops. It's about maybe mini contractor yards. It's about all of those things, correct, Greg?
Yeah.
So, you know, my prediction, and it's not just me, but my prediction and those of others is that industrial production and demand for industrial space will increase as international trading partners come to distrust each other more and global supply chains give way in part to more local production. So that is a trend that the worse the economy gets, I think the more demand we're going to see for industrial space. So that includes the workshops, the studios, the places and spaces for gigs and gigpreneurs. I think the worse the economy gets, the more certain I am that people will find useful things to do. And I have confidence, I do, I have confidence that people in Alberta and Saskatchewan and in Manitoba too, especially Saskatchewan and Alberta, which are so oil and gas dependent, will be able to find useful alternative things to do. The Westerners are full of energy and ideas, and they have courage and guts. And I happen to like Westerners. In fact, don't repeat this, but I like them better than Easterners, even though I'm an Easterner, I guess. You know, in Calgary, when you try and cross the street in the middle of a block, people will stop for you and wave at you. In Ottawa, they'll speed up, you know, to make sure you don't, you know, that they get home like 1.5 seconds earlier. It's true. I mean, you know, people in the West are so nice. And so, you know, if you're laid off as a natural gas or oil field worker, you're not just going to sit at home and feel sorry for yourself. Well, you might for a couple of days, but after that, you're going to say, well, what the heck? I'm going to do something. So maybe you're going to become a handyman. Maybe you're going to learn, maybe you are a welder. You're going to set up a shop and you're going to start welding stuff that needs welding. You know, some of the people have been laid off, you know, who have their gas licenses. You know, they start doing boilers. You know, people want you know, heated floors, right? So if you have your Boilermaker license, you know, you set up your own gig. I mean, if you're laid off, what are you going to do? Go home and cry? Well, yeah, for a day or two.
Right.
So I am quite sure that Got Storage, with all the other stuff that we talked about, the mini contractor yards, you know, the mini offices, the studios, the gig space, the workshops, it's that combination. It's not just storage by itself, right?
Mm.
Because storage by itself, I think, will still be in demand, but it will not be the same as the ability to live and work, and to work and store stuff, yes, and work too. I think that is a tremendous combination. That is part of the model. So that was one of the questions I had about your branding. Got Storage is a fantastic name, but it doesn't tell the whole business, does it?
No. No, it doesn't.
So I'm just wondering about that. What do you think about that, you guys?
Yeah, I've wondered about that too. I've been wondering about, you know, we're not far enough into it that we're married to Got Storage at this point. So,
but
either the tagline needs to say it, or we need to.
That's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I like that, because I love the name Got Storage. But maybe, you know, and I came up with this tagline. I'm not saying it's a good tagline, Bernie, but I came up with, you know, the idea of Got Storage, we get storage. Yep. Which I don't think Greg was too impressed with either. But I really like what you're saying now is, I don't know. What do you, I mean, I'm not saying this is correct either, but what do you think, Greg, of putting something into the tagline that talks, Got Storage is the name, but we got workshops, we got studios, we got mini contractors, we got everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. That's too long, but you know what I'm getting at? I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking of as well in the last week or so. It's some kind of a tagline that expands on the idea that we got more than just storage.
Yeah, I really like that. So you're going to have to work on this some more, okay?
Yeah.
Because this is way too long for a tagline. You know, so Bernie, I'm Prof. Bruce. That's my brand, and my tagline is making impossible possible. It's 3 words. You know, so we get storage is fine, but I think Greg's idea is better. So I'm going to stop sharing again, and I'll put it in the chat box here. So,
yeah.
What did you say, Bernie?
I keep thinking got other stuff too, but that's kind of vague.
So I put it in the chat box. Just copy it out of the chat box, and it's really important. I love the name Got Storage, and I think you're on. We got everything else too, but you have to be more specific than that, because what is everything else? They might think you mean moving and packing supplies. You know, we got workshops, we got studios, we got mini contractors, we got everything. I don't know. It's not good enough, but you're going to have to work on it, okay? In terms of the logo, I mean, whoever was doing your logo, Greg and Bernie, they're really good.
I've used her in the past for a few things. I quite like working with her.
What's that?
I've used Larissa in the past for a few design things. I quite like working with her.
I really liked it, and I loved her name too. Shoestring Marketing. Can you see it here?
Yeah.
Isn't that a great name?
It is. Yeah.
And so I liked this one, but you liked, I think, You
Oh,
like this one, right?
Yeah.
That's very nice. Oh, they're beautiful. But I want the tagline underneath, right? In here. I don't know what it is yet, but you know, I didn't like this one very much.
Nope.
So I think I didn't like this one at all. We're going to go past that one, but I think this would be fantastic. You know, I really love this.
To me, it stands out when it's on the side of a container like this.
Yep.
It's nice, and it'll be, I think, impressive as far as logo on the container itself.
So Bernie, just for the fun of it, what else could we put down here? Got workshops?
I don't know how much to pare it down, but I'm thinking like got storage and then got it all and then workshop studios, blah, 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 blah.
Say it again a little bit more slowly.
Got storage and then the tagline maybe got it all. And then smaller underneath, you could put the workshop studios.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I think that's really good. All right, let me just fool around with this a little bit. Nah, forget it. So what else do we have? We've got it all. I really think that's really good. Oops, I don't know what happened there.
So then the second line under that is where we're basically describing what we got. We got workshops, studios.
Yeah, I think this is good. So what else have you got? What else would you put down here? Workshops, studios, what else?
Yep. Mini contract yards, mini offices.
Yeah, something like this anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty good, Bernie. We've got it all. Got storage, we've got it all. And then underneath, you know, and smaller type. I think that's good. All right, that's better. We're getting there. I'm going to put this in the chat box too now.
Okay.
And copy it out. And I think Bernie, you're right. We've got it all is really good. And then underneath it, as you said, the smaller type, workshops, studios, yards, blah blah blah, whatever you can think. That's really good. So you're going to pay Bernie for her advice there?
I certainly am.
You should. All right. Okay. I think we. But Greg, I do want you to feel comfortable though that this model, I am quite sure, gets stronger as the economy worsens.
Okay.
Industrial production in Canada is up 20%
Right.
Over the last year. I mean, what would you rather own? A got storage building, we've got everything, or an office building?
Yeah. We wouldn't want an office building.
Or how about a major shopping mall? You know, like, how would you like to own the West Edmonton Mall right now?
No thanks.
Holy shit. Holy smoke. Like, one of my clients owns a 750,000 square foot mall in Ottawa. 66% of his stores are closed and can't pay their rent. And the others are now closed and are paying their rent, but they're just for now because they're big enough, right?
Yeah.
2/3 of his tenants can't pay their rent and they're closed and they're not coming back. Something else you put in your agenda, Greg and Bernie, is that you are still interested in acquiring some multifamily properties of your own. Is that correct?
Yes.
What's in your mind on that?
I gotta tell you, I keep going back to the idea of small to medium-sized apartment buildings. Big enough. I mean, I don't necessarily want to rent houses because I want it to be big enough that I can hire a property management company to be the face of the management and doing the management portion of it. So I'm not interested necessarily in having a house with renting out a house.
So
I realize that's a good place to start and to learn.
right. So can I show you a model that's kind of like a Main Street makeover model, but it's something that you and Bernie could, I'm sure you can do, but it's different, all right? So let me show you another model. I want you to keep an open mind on this one, all right? I'm sorry about going back and forth with the sharing and the non-sharing thing, but it's just, you know, just luck of the draw. So I wanted to show you this, which is what one of my clients is doing in, oh shoot, in Sarnia, this building here. This is in Sarnia. And this is a building that, you know, I don't know how, even though the markets in most parts of Ontario are really hot, even Sarnia is hot. You know, this building had been for sale forever. And this is kind of like a got storage business model too. You'll see where I'm coming from in a minute, okay? So a client of mine bought this, and it had been days on market, Greg and Bernie, for a long time. I don't know how many days on market, 200 days on market, 300 days. Nobody wanted it. The reason for that is these two commercial spaces at grade, which were, at one point it was a pharmacy, and I don't remember what this was, maybe it was a convenience store. They had been closed. And the building is, I don't know if you can see it on the screen here, is quite deep. Can you see how deep it is here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my client bought it, and I was all over this. He bought this building for like $300,000 or something like that. It wasn't very much. And it's a 10,000 square foot building. So very comparable to the one I bought in Belleville, only it's in better shape and doesn't require the same amount of renovation. So what he's going to do is he's going to convert the upper level to about 10 microsuites, which are all about 300 or 400 square feet each. So he's going to put microsuites in here. In fact, he's doing that now. And then on the ground floor, the problem is that each one of these retail bays here are long and skinny, right? Can you see how long they are and skinny they are?
Yeah.
Very, very inefficient. And there's just no demand at this point for 2,500 square foot retail. So what he's going to do is he's going to shorten these up. So this space here and this space here are going to go only to about here. So each one of these little, these retail spaces will now be about 800 square feet. This one he's going to rent to a cafe, and he'll put a beautiful patio here. So he'll have a cafe that serves breakfast and lunch, percentage rent and all that, little tiny 800 square foot cafe with a patio. That will stand the test of time. And this one will be, you know, could be a registered massage therapist, could be a physiotherapy clinic, could be a little tiny dispensary, doesn't matter, only 800 square feet. And all the rest of these, you see all the rest of the windows down here?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to open them up, and guess what he's going to put down there? Workshops and studios. So now his building will be able to offer a place to live and a place to work.
Right.
This is a building that if you and Bernie could find one like this in Saskatoon, you create your own multifamily. And what's really cool about this, and I didn't want to tell Conrad this because I didn't want to create competition for you.
Right.
You understand? Because he has resources, maybe more resources than you do, and maybe more than I do. But you understand, you find a building like this that no one else wants. If this was a 10-unit multi-res apartment building with 2 little stores and some gigpreneur spaces at grade, it was all done, and you put it up for sale, how many people do you think would bid for it?
I would bet a lot of people would bid on it.
I'm guessing you would get 30 people viewing it in the first weekend, and you'd have 3 or 4 offers on it.
Okay.
But here's the difference. No one else knows what the hell to do with these things other than your coach and now you.
Right.
So this is a way to create your own multi-res and not get into a bidding war. And one thing that you and Bernie should definitely do, Greg, is if you buy a building like this, like Ruben and his wife Mary Lou did, you should not tell the seller what you're going to do with it. Don't be bragging about, hey, we got this great plan, because the next thing you know, they'll be doing it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he's got the land is big enough. He can do the playland thing outside, and and he could do a lot of really cool stuff with it. So a lot of the animations that we've been talking about now for months, you could do this. And this is a building for $300,000 that you and Bernie certainly could buy and yourselves. Especially if you do this sort of RSP, cycle money back, so that you get a first mortgage on a $300,000 building like this at 65%, right?
Yeah.
So, on a commercial building like this, you could get 65% loan to value, no problem. So you get about a $200,000 mortgage on it, and then you loan yourself through this process. You're not actually doing it to yourself, but you end up with $200,000 or $300,000 loan, RRSP loan, and you fix it up, goes up in value within a year or two, like exactly what Conrad was talking about, but you own this thing.
Right.
And you and Bertie could live there if you like it.
Mhm.
Like my wife and I have been thinking about maybe moving to our Belleville project. We just want a new adventure. We're not too old to have another adventure, right?
Yep, for sure.
And we thought, wouldn't it be cool to live downtown Belleville, just a different place. I like to sail. The Bay of Quinty's right there. Put my boat in and go sailing on the bay and live on the main street in Belleville for a couple of years. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that because that is a great model. Here's another one that another client of mine is doing that is very similar.
Guillaume and Trish, right?
Beg your pardon?
Guillaume and Trish? Is this the building?
Say it
Guillaume
again.
and Trish?
I can't. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, is this the building that Guillaume and Trish own?
No, this is not. This is owned now by a client of mine who runs a vegetarian restaurant called The Green Door.
Oh, okay.
So, and he has a problem. He has too much money.
Huh.
I have never had that problem.
Yeah.
But it's true. He has too much money. So one of the things that he wanted to do is he likes real estate. And so he is creating a smaller version of the Green Door. So the Green Door is quite a big restaurant. It's wonderful. You go in there, you get all this wonderful vegetarian food, and you pay by the weight, if you know what I mean. So they weigh it, and if it weighs 1 kilogram, you pay a certain amount. If it weighs half a kilogram, you pay less. And so anyway, the number of convenience stores in Canada and the United States that are in financial trouble is unbelievable. Like, when was the last time, Bernie, you went to a convenience store?
I couldn't even tell you.
Probably not yesterday.
No.
Yeah. So to a lot of, so to the seller of this, the fact that this commercial bay was empty was a problem. To my client and to clients like you, that's an opportunity to put a beautiful little cafeteria in here, a little coffee shop in here with great sandwiches and great soups and great food, and to build a patio here. And for him, for this particular guy, he'll put a Green Door Mini in here with a beautiful patio here. And then he's got, I can't remember how many apartments, I think there are 8 apartments here. So again, you're creating your own, retail plaza. You're creating your own mixed use building. You're creating your own multi-res building.
Right.
So you're not, again, hardly anybody was bidding for this. This is in Ottawa. Ottawa's market is like insane. But nobody wanted to buy that one. All right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about before we break for the day is I think we should do, if you want to, I think we should do a webinar and try and raise some money for God Storage, because I'm getting the impression that John is not going to be an endless font of cash.
No, no, he's certainly not.
I've talked to him now a couple of times, and I get the feeling that he is not going to put a lot of cash into any deal that you're going to do.
Yeah, and I don't think that he's got a lot more cash than I do.
I don't think so. In fact, he might have less.
Yeah, he's got more assets, but I don't think he's got a lot more cash.
Yeah. So one of the things I think you two guys and me, and maybe John too, should do is a webinar.
Right.
And I'm doing quite a few of these now, where we do a webinar, and we don't need a lot of invitations. We need 6, 8, 10, 12 people who are interested in real estate, who want to learn about the got storage model.
Okay.
And what we would do is we would ask them for a soft commitment that when you find a building, and by the way, the got storage building might even include, you know, what I just showed you, right? Yeah. It might be that you're gonna maybe get to the big building later, and you might get a smaller building like the one I just showed you in Sarnia for $300,000.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, you could operate got storage out of there, and if you're talking about workshops, well, there's going to be 6 workshops in that building, and soon it'll be ready, I think, in March. So you know, your model might shift a little bit, possibly, but what I'm going to do after we break is I'm going to send you my slide decks, or at least some of my slide decks, and I think you should put together a slide deck on got storage. We should invite 6, 8, 10, or 12 people to attend, and we should ask them to each, if they're interested, to what's called red circle $75,000, $50,000 to $70,000 each, as a potential investment in this. And it's my opinion, Greg and Bernie, that they should invest both in debt and in equity. In other words, like if it's fine for you guys to loan RRSP money and get 10%. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. But it's hard to get rich, to become wealthy, just with your wages or with interest, right? Interest is great, and obviously having a job is great, but most people cannot save their way to wealth. They have to invest their way there. And so let me just show you what I'm working on for Rick Riddell. He's in Edmonton. All right, I'll just show you a couple of spreadsheets, and I'll send you all of this, Greg, because I know you look at it. So this is the structure we worked on. Rick and I worked on this, I think, on Friday. So yeah, January 20th, 2 days ago. This is his, he's going to buy a building in Edmonton and convert it to something very similar to got storage. And the purchase price of the building he's looking at is $1 million, $45,000 in closing costs, $450,000 in renovations. Total cost would be about $1.5 million. In order to do this project, he needs about 35% of this as equity, and 65% will be a loan. Okay, so if you multiply 1.495 million by 35%, it means he needs $523,250 of equity. That's quite a bit. Rick is going to put in $40,000 of his own money, which means he needs another $483,000 from his investors.
Yep.
So this is the way we structured it. In his case, he is going to have a corporation own this building. So it's not like what Don and I did where we own it in our own name. So it's not a Mad River financing. This is a little bit different.
Okay.
So it's going to be owned by a company. And the company, he's going to invest in, I mean, he's going to buy it with a company, and he's going to invest $40,000 in common shares. You know what common shares are, right?
Yep.
All right. Those are voting shares. And he's going to pay 5 cents a share for each of his shares. So he's going to end up with 800,000 voting shares. His investors are going to buy preferred shares at about 75 cents a share, which means they get 654,000 pref shares, which are non-voting shares, which means that they own 45% of the company. All right?
Yep.
Rick and I are gonna do a presentation a little later in February. He's got about 6 or 7 people who are interested, maybe 8 who are interested. We're asking for each of them to sort of give an indication whether they would put $75,000 into his deal. They're each going to get about 7.5% of the deal. So this was a structure. It's kind of a Mad River structure, but it's a corporate structure as opposed to to a personal holding company or a personal holding.
Sure. Yeah.
Is it making any sense to you guys so far?
Yeah.
All right. Now there's a second case that we did. So this is case 2. Can you see that here on the screen?
Yeah.
So when Rick saw this one, he said, Bruce, I really want to own more than 55% of it. But remember, he's only putting in 40 grand.
Right.
Right. So I said, okay, we'll do a second case. So in this second case, again, he puts $40,000 in at 5 cents a share, owns 800,000 shares. But he's going to own 65%, which means that he can only issue 430,000 pref shares to raise 259,000, which means the balance of the money that he's getting from his investors will be debt. And this is a structure that investors prefer. They prefer to have some of their money go into a company as equity. So they share on the upside. When you guys are successful, they are successful too. But some of their money goes in as debt. When the money goes in as debt, it means that your share, yours and Bernie's, Greg, goes up and the investors go down. But it does mean the company has some debt.
Sure.
So in case 1, there's no debt, it's all equity. In case 2, some of it is debt and some of it is equity. And you can play with these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And when we talk to investors, right, what we'll do is we'll show, here's the God storage model. These are the ideas that we're thinking of. We could go after a building that's $1 or $2 million, which would look more like this. We could go after one that looks like the Sarnia model, which would be a little bit less. Are you interested in participating?
Right.
So we're not actually asking them in this first webinar if they'll, chip in the money, but we're asking them if they would consider chipping in the money. So it's a softer sell. So one of the things I'd like you to think about, and Bernie and John as well, is if we did this, who do you invite?
Mm-hmm.
I would want you to have 6, 8, 10, or 12 people on the call with us. I'll do it with you. And it'll be a very soft sell. But if we got 6 people who said, yeah, listen, we'll put $50,000 to $75,000 in when you're ready, then at least we have people we can go to when you find a building that you and Bernie love in Saskatoon.
Right.
We're not starting from scratch.
Exactly. Yeah.
So can you think about that? I'll send you the stuff that you need. So you would do the first version of the slide deck. I'll give you my slides, but you make your own slide deck.
Yeah.
So you do the first version of the slide deck. I'll do the second version of it. And we'll pick a time in February, so next month, which starts tomorrow. And we'll try, and John has to have some friends he can invite to this thing too. If he doesn't, then he's not really very useful as a partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so can you boot up your calendar? And let's try, Bernie, not to do it on a Sunday. My wife is giving me heck for working today.
Yeah.
And rightly so. Bernie, in February, are you busy every single workday?
She's just getting her calendar to check her
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah. Is there a Monday that you're available, Bernie?
Well, March 1st is my next scheduled Monday off, but I could
Is there one in February?
make some time on a Monday in February.
So you're right now it's just after 1 your time, correct, Greg?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So look at Monday, February 22nd. And what if we were to do, what if we were to do a webinar from noon? Oh, come on, Firestone. Oh, God. I'm getting tired. Greg. What if we were to do a webinar for a 90-minute webinar from noon until 1:30 your time on the 22nd? So it would be from 2 till 3:30 my time, but noon, you know, everybody could find an hour at lunchtime to come to a webinar, right? So Monday, the 22nd of February, and I would want John on it too, because he you know, he's pretty charming, you know. I mean, he has a certain amount of, you know, charm to him. Do you not think?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and he has personality. You know, he's pretty bubbly. So I would want the three of us and John, if he could find the time. And you know, we don't want more than 12 people, and we don't want less than 6. And the reason we don't want more than 12 is if we screw up, you know, if we just make it just, it falls flat. We've only screwed up with 12 people, not 20 or 30. Yeah. Right? And you get better doing these things over and over again. So you would do the invitations cannot be a mass invitation. First of all, you'll run afoul of the Securities Commission in your part of the world. You're not allowed to pitch investments to, you know, the world without a full, you know, offering memorandum, which we're not doing. So number one, you can't do that. And number two, mass emails don't tend to work very well. Right. So when I was doing my Belleville project, I had 4 positions for investors. I wanted 4 co-investors with me. I invited 10 people to the webinar with a one-on-one email. You know, hey Greg, hey Bernie, hey Mary, hey, you know, hey Christian, I'm doing this really cool project in Belleville. Have you got some time? I'm going to tell you about it. That's all I said. And out of the 10 that I invited, all 10 agreed. And out of the 10, after I made the pitch, 6 of them agreed to participate, but I only had room for 4. So I just took them as they came in. You know, if Christian said I'm in, and then Paul said he's in, and then somebody else, the first 4 I took. You know, so I didn't discriminate that way. I just said, look, if you're interested, let me know. And I got 6 yeses, which was great. And to the 2 that, you know, they were late. Not late by much, but by a day. I said, look, I'm fully, you know, fully subscribed here, so I really appreciate it. My next project, can I come back to you for the next one? And I said, oh yeah, sure, no problem, right? Right. So if we get 12 people on the call, I'm hoping, you know, for Rick, we're going to probably raise about $450,000, and for you, we probably should aim for about the same. So it gives you and Bernie and John the flexibility you need, yeah, and the confidence you need to go out and go shopping.
Yes, exactly.
It's nice to know your Visa card won't bounce.
Yep.
All right, but I'm serious. We should raise $450,000 for you guys, because I'm quite sure John isn't going to write that check.
No, not unless the current deal that he's working on with Piedmont comes through.
Yeah, but as you know, there's a ton of people who are interested in real estate today. I mean, it's like a disease.
Yeah. Good.
All right. So after this call's over, I'm going to send you some slide decks. I'm going to send you those 2 spreadsheets. You do the first draft. I'll do the second. But you get onto it. Let's invite 6, 8, 10, or 12 people. Get 6, 8, 10, or 12 yeses. We'll have a lot of fun, and we'll see if we can raise $450,000. We should be able to do that.
Yeah, perfect.
Bernie, it's been great to see you.
You too.
I'll see you later.
All right.
Have a good rest of your weekend.
Thanks, Bert.